Well, hope everyone has a good Monday, rest of the week. So I'm reading some comments at silverdoctors.com. They have a kind of a podcast with Eric Sprott. You know, he's the guy that created kind of like the GLD and SLV, but it's the Sprott GLD and Sprott SLV. And as far as anyone knows, he's got the real stuff. He's not playing the paper game like GLD and SLV does, where they claim they have a bunch of gold and silver in these warehouses, but it's the same gold and silver in those warehouses that the COMEX and other entities are using to put out those fires, so to speak, when people demand delivery of gold and silver via COMEX futures contracts or the LBMA. But some comments about this particular video of Eric Sprott, because he's, you know, the title, first of all, is Eric Sprott's 2017 outlook is a big rally ahead for gold and silver prices. Now, of course, if you just heard what Martin Armstrong briefly said, he says he thinks we're going to go to sub 1,000 gold. He didn't really comment on silver, but again, gold and silver follow each other. And as I said in that video, I talked about that. I mean, I don't know that Martin Armstrong will get this right. He may. He very well may. I know where precious metals are going to go ultimately. So if they do a price smash, every time they've done it so far, massive sales have taken place. So again, it's that double-edged sword. We kill the prices, people go out and buy the physical, but they don't want us buying the physical. They want to shake out the loose hands, but they never do. More people go in and buy with both hands, both fists. What are these cats doing? And so anyways, I'm going to read you these two comments because this is something I need to talk about for a minute. I don't care about the article, which is mainly just a podcast anyways. Sprott Money. He says the Admiral of Silver Market breaks down next week's expected interest rate hike and the bombshell story this week regarding Deutsche Bank's manipulation of the silver market. What's next for metals? So just right off the bat, you can say, is there a big rally in store for 2017? Didn't we hear the same thing in 2013, 2012, actually 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 16? This manipulation will go until it breaks. What will break it? A black swan event that blindsides the powers that be. Well, son of a gun, we did hear the same thing in 2012, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Next comment, and I'm going to read these comments because this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. For people who feel like there's no hope, there's tons of hope. In this case, for silver. You know what I mean? Don't smoke hopium, so to speak. But we can see this endgame playing out. And the next currency that comes has to be backed by something tangible. What's the historical norm? Precious metals. That's the point. But let me read these two comments, and then I'm going to comment myself on these. That's just, he's replying to the other guy. That's just it. There are no markets. There are pricing mechanisms used to set prices. I like Eric Sprott. The guy obviously has a ton of knowledge about the fundamentals of gold and silver, but the mistake he and pretty much everyone else made after the run-up in 2011, which was $1,900 gold, $50 silver, was that he severely underestimated the power of the bankers. It took them a while, but they eventually figured out how to totally rig the price of gold and silver. They have a stranglehold on the price, and I don't see them letting up anytime soon. Fundamentals mean nothing. Retail physical demand means very little. So long as the crooks can simply fix the price via the COMEX gold and silver, we'll not be able to find true price discovery. Which this is nothing new. How many times have I talked about they can press a button on a keyboard somewhere, the club, and drop the price down unbelievably just by dumping enormous amounts of these paper contracts. The next comment, and this is the main one I want to talk about. Can't remember the last time we weren't in store for a big rally. Rule number 1, don't marry your investment. Metal bugs are notorious for violating this rule. This is pretty much what I want to talk about, but let me finish reading. These coins are simply insurance, guys. Obsessing about every tick of an asset class that has the entire history of the 20th century baked into it and trades around the clock all over the globe is destined to frustrate. Do you read over and review your car insurance policy every single day? Your homeowner's insurance? Your life insurance? And I'll add one. Do you look at the stock, whatever stocks you're invested in every single day? When you have a 401k plan at work, which I know a lot of people do, are you sitting there every single day knowing exactly what these funds are doing every single day? No, because you know there's going to be down days, up days, down days, up days. But generally speaking, you need them to see the general trend year after year needs to be up, or else there's a problem, right? And that's, again, what I'm going to talk about, why we're not exactly considering that for gold and silver. But he continues. So, are you reading over all these things every day? Yes or no? If yes, you aren't learning much new about it, I'd have to guess. Don't waste time, money, and energy fighting these bankers, just buying and holding. You have been losing and you will continue to lose unless you buy and sell. Hold a core, in other words, a core amount, yes, but buy and hold doesn't work clearly. You are fooling yourself if you think it will and use no diversity in your investing. What will you do when it becomes illegal to buy and sell or own gold in America? That day is coming, just the way mass surveillance came, and now a crackdown on fake news is coming. Slowly, step by step, it will creep up on you, and then what? The latest rumor now is that your beloved hoarder of gold, China, may ban imports just the way India did. Drip, drip, drip. I have tried to explain here and have been mocked and ridiculed, and I don't expect that to change. However, my comments are trackable for anyone to go back and review. In hindsight, they may make more sense, or at least be seen as what they were at the time. Correct. If you want just the facts, then look back and see where gold and silver prices, HUI pricing, mining pricing, were when Silver Doctor started, where they were when Silver Doctor started 6 years ago. They are all lower since by orders of magnitude. Other than that, you have a false profits with flawed analysis and hope that you get back to even. There is only one way of seeing this desperate attempt at relevance, and that is the results it has produced. 6 years is plenty of time for benefit of the doubt. Sooner or later, it has to become clear that these people are not learning from their mistakes because the analysis methods are flawed. They only have partial knowledge, as we all do. There is no guarantee this is going to work as an investment. It's a guess. The world is changing. So, this other guy comments, which is kind of where I'm going to talk to you, where my comments are going to be at in a second. He says, that's just it. Nobody expected the suppression scheme to be as effective as it has been for going on 6 years now. We all assumed that the pure fundamentals of the law and supply and demand would eventually take over. Obviously, this hasn't happened. The fundamentals have been completely marginalized, if not outright eliminated, by the suppression scheme. I totally agree with you. Nobody cares what the price of gold and silver will be in 100, 50, 20, or even 10 years. The party is going on right now, and those who have been long stocks and the dollar have been laughing all the way to the bank. We stackers, while fundamentally correct, have been victimized badly by the cartel. Sitting there saying, oh, I hope the price doesn't go up so I can keep buying, is nonsense in my book. That is a valid argument for people who only recently started stacking. How does that help retirees? How does that help those who cashed out of their 401ks at the behest of the gurus and went all in on precious metals? The suppression scheme helped me reach my stacking goals because it was so cheap. But I know I am personally tired of waiting for us to have our day in the sun. For years, I believed that one day we would wake up to gold at $2,000 and silver at $50 or higher. I naively thought that the cartel could be broken. I am no longer under that illusion. The bankers are all in this together, and they have more power than we can imagine. They can borrow virtually unlimited amounts from the Fed's window at less than 1% and use that money to slam the metals anytime they want. How do we win in this scenario? We can't. Gold and silver will go up when those running the casino decide it's time for them to go up, period. So the final comment So are you guys running up the white flag and surrendering? You do know that this is a long-term game, right? You also know that whatever is not sustainable will end, right? You also know that gold and silver are real money and that fiat is paper with some ink on it that is of absolutely no intrinsic value, whatever, right? As our friend and fellow stacker, AGXIIK, is fond of saying, silver will get us through times of no paper a lot better than paper will get us through times of no silver. For me, gold and silver are a store of value, a hedge against inflation, a financial insurance policy, and a long-term savings plan. It is not a get-rich quick scheme. We know that the fiat dollar prices of both gold and silver change continuously because the fiat currencies float against each other. We also know that gold and silver are currencies that compete with both gold and silver. It is reasonable to assume that gold and silver will fluctuate in price as the fiat currencies rise and fall in price. Last, we know that there is a substantial difference between price and value. Regardless of price, gold and silver, unlike fiat paper, will always be inherently valuable. When we are acquiring these metallic assets, we need to buy in small amounts over time. We need to buy no more than we can comfortably afford and hold for the long term. We need to reserve enough of our fiat for paying our bills and any other of life's monthly expenses. Overbuying is one of the big mistakes that many who stack make. Never borrow money to buy gold or silver. Never buy so much that you have to sell at a loss if the market turns against us, because it will from time to time, as we have all seen. And never go all in on any one asset class, no matter how good it looks to you. We are all fallible human beings, and we can be wrong about this. The real trick, in my opinion, is not to put ourselves into a position where we have to sell to remain financially solvent. In that position, one can lose a lot of money because they often end up selling when they must and not when it is a good idea to do so. Okay? So, let's talk about this. Like the other guy said, well, stocks have been rallying. They're laughing the way to the bank. Meanwhile, us precious metal stackers are sitting here in agony. I've said it a bunch of times. I just said it the other day too. We're going to say a prayer to J.P. Morgan and the club. Dear masters of our universe, thank you. We want to thank you for allowing us to buy at such cheap prices. Have said from absolutely day one, this is not a short-term or get rich or make a ton of money fast type of thing. This is only to protect your financial livelihood. Nothing more, nothing less. I do believe when the time comes, and the time has to come, history demands it, we're going to be sitting here saying, whoa, I wasn't expecting that kind of financial livelihood of mine to be saved. Wow. Holy crap. This is fantastic. But the day is not now. The day is not now. And by the way, tomorrow doesn't look good either. Next week doesn't look good either, etc. Now, we do have Federal Reserve. Again, we're going to raise rates, not going to raise rates. Raise rates, all chances, or not chances, but everywhere I'm reading, and not that I, needed to read this, and I don't think you did either. I think it's a safe bet they're going to raise the rates. Markets, the Trump rally, whatever you want to call it, holy crap, hey, economy's good according to the Federal Reserve looking at their nonsensical data, but according to that nonsensical data, everything's great, we should go ahead and do the rate hike. I want to remind you, we have $20 trillion in debt, and if Donald Trump, and I'm, fingers crossed, he does get past this electoral college nonsense. It was always nonsense. He got more than 270. I don't know what the hell they were doing. Yada, yada, yada. January 20th, he's in the White House. He's sworn in. He starts doing exactly what he said. He's making changes left and right. And for all intents and purposes, he's the man, okay? We're going to pretend that that's how this is going to go. He will be left with a $20 trillion debt. And I remember myself doing videos at least a few years ago saying, by the time Barack Obama leaves office, we could very well have doubled the debt. 10 trillion, 20 trillion. It has absolutely happened. Last time I checked, it was 19.9. Okay? So what happens to that? Where is it going? Where is it? Does it just get flicked off a magic wand? How about the massive tens of trillions of dollars in everything related to retirement, as in Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all that stuff, also known as unfunded liabilities? How does that stuff get paid? Currently, we have to borrow money at interest to do everything in this country. Pay all the bills, we have to borrow it into existence. We don't just print it. Because if we just printed it, this would be a different story. We don't just print it. We pay interest on every dollar. And if there's interest on every single dollar, how can you ever pay it back? Because the first dollar you printed has interest attached to it that you owe, but you only got the dollar. You were handed $1. So if that was the start and end of our country, hello, I'm starting the printing press. I printed $1. Have a nice day. This whole country experiment ended. But you do owe that dollar plus interest back. How in the hell do I pay that back? It's $1.02, 2 cents interest on that, 2% interest, okay? So I owe $1.02, but I only got $1. What would you do for $1? $1. What would I do for $1.02? How do I come up with the 2 cents? I got to go back to the Federal Reserve. I need to borrow another $1, which becomes 98 cents because I need to pay the first $1 2 cents. Follow me? And then that $1, which is only 98 cents, got to print another $1 to pay back that 2 cents plus the additional 2 cents, right? 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, that's 4 cents. See how this goes? You can never, ever, ever pay the debt off. So the club knows, of course they know this, and they know it has to implode at some point. And I'm here to tell you what I think. What better time to do so is when the person they did not want to become president became president. We are going to let this go on him. Everything will implode and they'll start over. There'll be a new currency, or maybe there'll be just US dollars within the United States and then maybe a global country currency, from country to country. So it's like a 2-tier currency. There's no telling. But what I can tell you, who in their right mind, what American citizen is going to sit here and say, after this happens, let's do that. Oh, you're just going to do it again? You imploded everything, hurt us financially. And then even if they do create a new dollar, let's say, to replace the old dollar or whatever it is, 2-tier system. In other words, the debt's been imploded. The $10 trillion that we've owed the whole world, it's all, it's imploded. Are we going to sit here and say, let's do it over? Let's just do exactly what we did last time for the last 100 years. And let's see if it ends better this time. Because I'm pretty sure if you do the same thing again and again, it ends the same way. So they know this. So what are they going to say? We need to have some kind of hard assets. We can't do that again. Incompetence, yada, yada. We didn't know. Nobody saw this coming. But we have a solution. And the solution can't be the same thing we just did. So what else is there? Again, we have 6,000 years of history. Gold and silver backing the financial system. This is not the first time this paper game has been played. You may not know that. This is not the first time, my friends. And every time it implodes, we go back to what we were supposed to be in the first place. And I'm curious if anyone's ever at some point going to say, look, the 10th Amendment still says that the states have to use gold and silver coin for any and all debts, public, private debts to be paid. Silver coin, silver and gold coin. It's still in the books. I talked about this. How the hell did we get away from that? 1918 lawsuit was filed against the Federal Reserve. Supreme Court said no. It's legit to use paper money because that's what they wanted to do. 1913, Federal Reserve comes online. We're going to print money, paper. But it was backed by gold. And because of that reason, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Federal Reserve. No, as long as the gold's there to back the currency, it's just as good. What happened in 1971, friends? President Nixon took us off the gold standard. So at that point in my book, someone should file the lawsuit. Hey, and you can quote what they call case law. Case law, the Supreme Court versus whoever it was, 1918, case law, in so-and-so v. United States. Supreme Court ruled because it was backed by gold, it was okay. However, 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard. We don't have the gold anymore. And if we do have the gold by chance, you can put in a lawsuit. If we do have the gold by chance, and maybe you're going to reply and tell me it's in Fort Knox somehow in secret, the amount of gold we have on paper, audited, maybe 30 years ago audited, but what we have on paper versus what the debt is, the price of gold and silver can't be what they're at today. So that doesn't make sense, Your Honor. I'd love to see where that case would go. But I read these comments and I feel the pain. I feel their pain. I understand. You were not ever told, I don't care who you are, nobody told you we're going to all be filthy rich by investing in gold and silver in the next few years when this happened, going back to 2008, 9, 10, whatever it was. Because it did hit 1900 and it did hit 50 for silver. And it did so very rapidly. It just goes to show you how quickly, if the club steps off the brakes, so to speak, that those things can rise. And it was a managed rise. I'm going to remind you, and I know sometimes y'all web bought, I can't believe it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The thing's been hitting a lot of stuff recently. It said you're going to see $5 moves in silver and $20 moves followed after 5. When this goes down, it does not know precisely when. The stuff that is in these reports over and over again, year after year after year, it's like a deep-rooted system that the webbot will be absolutely spot on with what it said will happen, but it is not going to happen anytime soon, or even what time frame it might have thought originally. It's just like these old things. They're going to come. No one knows exactly when, webbot included, but it's going to. That is good enough for me. And I will say this. If that webbot was never even created, I never heard of it. It was never there. Of course, I couldn't hear of it because it doesn't exist, let's say. Didn't know ClickFi, didn't know any of this stuff. I would not change a single thing that I've said. I would still be purchasing the silver that I've purchased. I'd still be talking to you guys about it all the time, advising you. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I think I got a clue on history and monetary policy and how this all ends. But like this other guy said, hey, we're all human. We could be wrong. There's always that chance. But, and for that reason, I want to end this video by saying this. Let's assume we're wrong. Silver doesn't really go up much more. Maybe it hits 20 and stays there. Gold, $1,300 stays there. That's it. And end of the game. That's it. You can't pull gold and silver out of the ground for free. These are privately owned companies across the planet that mine gold and silver. They don't do it for free. They can't hold gas prices here, can they? Inflation and things have to happen. Now, I know they've stomped it recently, but things get more expensive. Vehicles get more expensive. Everything gets more expensive except for your paycheck, right? Inflation. And the definition of inflation by the Federal Reserve, they've had to change it over 20 times over the last 20 years. The things that they look at, because each year, if they look at the previous year's equations, we got some serious inflation. We don't want to report that, so let's change the algorithm every freaking year, or most years. It doesn't change the fact that it costs money to get this stuff out of the ground. A stock, a bond, these pieces of so-called paper can and have absolutely in history have gone to zero. Someone explain to me how gold and silver can go to zero. They're not going to mine it. Who would? You'd be out of business so fast your head would spin. If they drop prices lower for any length of time, it's going to be painful. It's already painful for a lot of miners. So that to me says, no matter what, this will store some kind of value for me. And it can't be zero. Yeah, but the stock market, man, you're playing with fire. You're playing with fire. How many of us got burned? In 2008 and 9, how many 401ks got destroyed? A lot of people. How about those pension funds right now? See, that's the other issue. They have to let these rates start to come back. They have to. Or the pensioners and retirees, the savers, are going to be absolutely decimated. It's already practically started, right? I mean, I'm doing these videos on pensions all the time. So the club understands we're riding this horse as long as we can. We're going to now start to raise these rates and put some kind of semblance of normalcy back into the pension and retirement system, or we're going to be in big, big, big trouble. At the same time, Donald Trump, in order to do a lot of his plans, it's going to cost some money. And he's going to say, well, just do what you guys did before. You printed $10 trillion since Barack was in office. You talk about these recoveries and everything's good. I mean, keep printing. Keep printing. That's what he's going to say. I mean, it's essentially what he has said. So how fast is the debt going to go up this time over the next 8 years if this were to continue? The same system were to continue. Are you, again, simple math. Last 10 years, 8 years, pardon me, 8 years, 2 presidential terms, 10 trillion turned to 20, it doubled. And Donald Trump's ready to hit the door running and printing some money. 10 trillion became 20. That would mean 20 trillion became 40 in 8 years. Can you imagine adding $20 trillion in 8 years? It's possible. They might even do it. But I cannot see gold and silver just remaining manipulated this whole time. Look what India is doing. They're now trying to go after people. Oh, you have too much jewelry. We're going to send in the brown coats and the black boots. Confiscate any extra gold. You're allowed 500 grams if you're a woman and you're married. You're allowed 100 grams if you're a man. You're allowed some more as long as it was, given to you by former, previous family members, maybe passed away, inheritance, etc. When people start to see, hey, there's like a war on gold, there's a war on, they don't want us doing that. What do people do? I better go get some. I better go get some before I can't get it. Happens every time. What happened to the price of gold in India when they got rid of their $1,000 bill and $500 bill? Basically made it useless. It's worthless now. People were paying $2,800 an ounce. When it finally settled down, they were paying $1,700 to $1,800 an ounce of gold for gold. The price is sub $1,200. That's how bad they wanted it. I heard they were scrambling for silver, but I never did hear what prices were being paid for silver. I never found that out. This is enough reason for me to own it. So if any of you are out there thinking the same thing, yeah, but I'm already retired, Jason, man, I'm already 65 or what. I don't know what to tell you. I'm only telling you how you can preserve some wealth. And when the time's right, it's going to do a good number. But again, when I started in 2009 and 10, really, videos. So that was 6 years ago. I'm about to turn 39 this month, okay? I got a little bit of time. However, this shouldn't really matter if you're 65, 40, whatever. I just can't see another 8 years of this. 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. I mean, 2011, talking, 5 years ago? Yeah, 5 years ago when it jumped 1,900 gold and $50 silver. And then they did a number on it, of course. But every time I look at these charts of how much bullion is being sold, or how many eagles, record breaking, the mint has shut down production already. Oh, why are they doing that? Oh, they just did a record sale and they sold out. Oh, that's why. Okay. How do they deal with that? Is more precious, metal coming out of the ground? We find better mining techniques all of a sudden? No, the easy stuff's been taken. They've got to go deeper, they got to work harder, etc. Now, granted, you could still argue, yeah, but it doesn't matter, Jason, if they're setting the price with paper. Correct. But if you start putting these companies out of business because you brought the price down too low, you just shot yourself at both feet. Now you're going to have an epidemic on your hands. How do we reproduce the silver that was coming into the world market when we just smashed it and put a bunch of companies out of business? Uh-oh. That's not going to work, right? So they can't just do that. That's why, yeah, they can put it to zero. They can knock the hell out of it. It would have to be extremely short term. That's why I said it. Bring it on. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, come on, buddy. Smash it. Price line negotiator. Go ahead, big shot. Go lower. No, that's not low enough. Go lower. Come on. That's still not low enough. 13, 12, go lower. Go back to 9 and 10. All right. Price line negotiator. Snip negotiator. Let me load the boat again. Because I thought back in 09 when they knocked it down to 10, 9 something, very briefly, 10, that was it. We're never going to see that kind of price again. And up until these days, we have not. Not even up until. We still have not seen those kind of prices. So that may be the low. And we might be at the low now. High 16s for silver, 1160 or whatever for gold. Maybe they will knock it down a little bit more. There's no telling. But when they do, I'll be ready to make a online purchase again. These prices are great, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to give actually I better not say. Bought this, let a little Christmas present slip. Can't say it. In case that particular person's watching. Anyways, I just want to cover that with you. Don't worry. This is just for protection. Would you worry about your insurance policy? Oh, no. It's insurance. This is insurance. If you're buying and selling, like he's saying, you're supposed to buy it and sell it. No, I'm not buying it and selling, lugging my silver around, sell. Oh, it's up $1 today. Let me go to the coin dealer and sell it. No, it's stupid. You're not supposed to be playing with gold and silver like you are the stock market. And what did that elite friend tell the one that died? Tell Lindsey Williams a long time ago. Lindsey, gold and silver is our money. We don't tax it. You don't pay tax on it. That's our money. The fiat basically is for you, for the little people. He flat out told him that. So do you think, since his elite friend clearly has gold and silver, do you think his elite friend is sweating right now? Oh man, guys, when are we going to let the prices rise finally? No. They know it's coming. They don't care. And even if it did get smashed and stayed smashed, these guys are filthy rich anyways, right? But they're the ones doing it, so they would not be holding on to the precious metals. They would have already unloaded tons of it and said, we know where this is going, we're out. And even if I were to know an elite friend, let's say, who was like Lindsay's and had phenomenal information and told me one day, we're unloading all of our precious metals. Jay Snip, you still doing those videos? Yes, I am. Tell your people that the elite are unloading their precious metals. If I were to come out and do a video like that, or someone else were, and I was the listener, I would say, instinct number one, I'm being lied to right now. This guy is going to snowball, snow job. There's no way. I don't believe him. That's what just everything that I've studied. There's no way I'm not buying it, even if it crashes or for some length of time. It has to go up. It has to. Too much of it's being used. From medicine devices to electronics, solar panels, and now we have a giant appetite of from people wanting it, as in silver, for bullion purposes, precious metals, not to use in some device. So you have these two forces gobbling up silver. We don't really know how much the club actually has. We don't know. We look at the CO2 report and we don't know. But as it dwindles, the day's going to come. Because if you're taking more than you're supplying, simple math. And chances are, if we're looking at data that shows us we're consuming more than we're pulling out of the ground, I'd be willing to bet those numbers are skewed in the club's favor, even though it shows there's a problem. It's probably a much more massive problem that they don't dare show us. So anyways, I'm out. Take care.